Everyone, thank you so much for joining this evening. As Alex has just said, I'm Carolyn Flowers. I'm the playing format manager here at England Rugby. I'm joined this evening with Phil Kearns, who's joining us from game development, who will be coming on to the presentation just in a little bit after I've gone through slides. As Alex said, we're going to have a few polls to start with. We'd love to hear some of the things as to what you're looking for from this evening. We've got a little bit of upfront knowledge about what the format is and how it can be implemented. And hopefully everyone had a chance to watch the video that was sent out prior to this webinar, excuse me. So without further ado, I think we'll just crack on. Again, please pop any chat questions you have in the chat and we'll be able to get them once we're through some of the slides. So first up, we have a couple of poll questions. Again, this is just so that we can understand what you're looking for from this evening and get a little bit of an understanding of where you are currently with T1 Rugby, the information that's available, and what might be going on with your deliveries. So I'll stop for just a second, I'll put myself on mute while we see some of these chat questions come through. So first one being, what are the outcomes you're looking to achieve through implementing T1 Rugby?
Okay, everyone should be able to see that poll now. So what outcomes are you looking for to achieve through implementing T1 Rugby? Is it growth? Is it retention? Is it both of those? Or is it other? And please do let us know your thoughts about how you want to use it in the chat. That would be really useful. I can see people have jumped straight into it and got on with that poll. As I say, if you can't see it for any reason, please do answer the question and just put your answer into the chat there if you've lost it at all. So final little chance to respond before I close this one. So final little bit. And I'm going to close it there. And I'll share the results with you. So the majority, it's both, Carolyn, is growth and retention. I haven't seen anything come into the chat as of yet, but there's one just coming from Colin Austin. We offer normal rugby and walking rugby. Presenting to the schools is certain things coming out there as well in the chat. So they tend to use it for that reason as well. So we'll move on to the next poll, and we're going to talk about resources. So I'll launch that one with you, and you should see that now. Have you visited the delivery of T1 Rugby website and reviewed the content resources? Have you managed to see much about it? This just helps us figure out, gotten there. And at the moment, people are flying in now, and we've got one poll after this. So is it yes, or you've not got round to it yet? I did send a link out this morning in with the video as well there. So final little chance to get back. And I'll end the poll there. I'll share those results. So the majority, 66% have, so there's still some that are yet to see it, but there does seem to be most people on this call have seen that. And one, I was delivered the packs recently. Corbin Turner, thanks for sharing that. That's actually they're actually delivering already. So a final one. And launch that there. So are you already delivering T1 Rugby? Well, we had one there that was clearly already delivering there. So is it yes, no, or we certainly plan to start soon? Or if you've got any other things, please elaborate in the chat there. I can see everyone's getting very used to this. Just helps us get a sense of what we got on the call. Okay, last little chance to respond. I'll end the poll there. And here's the results. So the majority, actually 65%, although they've looked at the resources and not delivering at this moment in time. But a hell of a lot start, 22% plan to start soon. Another 14% actually are doing it at this moment in time. So great for getting involved with these polls. Thanks for getting involved with that. Back over to you, Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you so much for being active in those polls and sharing. And it's really great to see that 70% are looking at using T1 Rugby for both growth and retention. Obviously, as we'll go through in a bit, it's got so many different outcomes that you can achieve from it. So we are really looking to understand what you're looking to use it for, and that way we can get a little bit more specific with information. Also fabulous to see that 66% of people have had a chance to look at the website, and that 80% of you, whilst you're not delivering yet, hopefully are on this webinar to be able to get some more information on how we can get that started for you. So really making our jobs this evening quite easy to know where you stand and what we're looking to help you with on this particular call. So jumping forward, again, hopefully for those of you who've seen the website, you will have seen quite a bit of this information, but we'll be going over it. We won't be going too crazy into detail on some of this stuff, but again, we are here for questions and also getting the kind of top line things over to you. That way we, again, from those polls, have a bit more understanding on where you guys are as clubs or deliverers. So for those of you who aren't aware, T1 Rugby is our officially endorsed non-contact format of rugby. It's a low barrier format, which means it's a really good entry point for participants or people who don't have as much knowledge in rugby or it just are looking for a new way of continuing to play, whether it's through retention or anything else. And it's a fun and inclusive way to play. It's the first format of non-contact rugby to include lineouts, kicking, and scrums, which making it simple to play, but at the same time looking more like rugby union. Again, that's for the first time. And it can be played mixed age and mixed gender, once again, ensuring the inclusivity and enjoyment for everyone. However, it can be done like that, but it can also be done in different ways, which we'll go through a little bit later. There's a lot of information coming through on some of these slides, but the crux of what we're trying to get across here is T1 Rugby is super flexible. So as you can see, I've pretty much listed off every possible playing surface that you can think of, as long as it's risk assessed and you can make it work in a space and it's safe for everyone. It can be played on grass pitches, artificial pitches, indoor halls, multi-use games areas. If there is, or muggas, if there is somewhere to play it, you can likely make it work. So again, super flexible in that sense. And again, you can play it with or without tags. You can play it at walking pace or at running pace. You can make amendments if you need to, which we'll go through in a second. But really, again, really trying to get across this idea of how flexible T1 Rugby can be. And part of the reasoning behind that is T1 Rugby is not just an England rugby format. It was developed by World Rugby and has been implemented and endorsed across many different unions. And some of those unions prefer to use tags, some prefer not to use tags. But again, it's that idea of one format for unions across the world that they can use to best suit their needs. So that's why you'll find quite a bit of flexibility within it. So you may find that if you've got newer skilled participants with less rugby experience, you may want to start them at walking pace and then build them up. But again, it's whatever you've got to work with, you can make T1 Rugby work within that. So again, really great to see that quite a few of you have been able to visit the website. I think the final number there was 66%. So what you'll see is that we do have quite an extensive amount of resources on there. This is wonderful for us. It's probably the most resources we've had for a non-contact format in the past few years. We've got loads of resources for teachers. And while this webinar is club focused, they can be very useful for clubs as well. So feel free to take a look at those. Don't think they're being kept from you. We've got club and brand guidance, excuse me. We've got loads of videos that will help you introduce or progress the format should you need to. 6-week session plans, which again, Phil will go through in a little bit later, but Phil had a hand in developing those both with World Rugby and specifically our Stage 2 resources. And we have other things like marketing toolkits, but that's just a few of them. If you go on the website and you have a look, we have quite a few. So you can see referee tips on the screen, activation sessions, and again, the front page of our club guidance and stuff like that. But have a look. I haven't listed them all there, but I just wanted to give a little bit of an idea of some of you might find you need them. Again, hopefully, we didn't actually put this in the poll, but it would have been useful, although some of them were sent out a little bit later. Hopefully everyone has a chance to see the World Rugby animation, which we sent out previously about how to play T1 Rugby. And the reason for us sending that out was so that those of you coming into the call who perhaps didn't have an understanding of what T1 Rugby looked like, if you had a chance to watch the video, you'll have a good idea of the basics of what T1 Rugby is. I'm not actually going to go through this page in too much detail because I'm going to hand off to Phil in a sec. But again, you'll see some of the key bits about T1 Rugby here. Mainly, I'm going to focus on some of the adaptations that you can do. So Again, this idea of mixed gender and mixed ages, as long as you're following RFU regulations, and we can go into more detail about that later should you wish to. Pitch size, team size, match length. If you need to adapt those, you can absolutely do that. And things such as kicking, scrums, and lineouts can be added in as needed, for when your participants are confident. I know we have a few walking rugby players or walking rugby deliverers on the call, and there are a few options that are probably more suitable for walking rugby, such as removing kicking, or as some clubs have actually trialed and are looking to do, is rolling the ball forwards instead of kicking it. Optional. But also we understand that with the walking rugby community, you don't place the ball over the try line. So it's absolutely fine to walk the ball over the try line. I also know that some clubs prefer to use the ball going over the plane as opposed to feet crossing the plane, and that's absolutely fine too. So it's got a lot of similarities to the 2018 walking rugby guidance that we put out in the past in 2018. But actually it's very, very similar to 2018 guidance with just those couple little changes if you want to make them there. So I'll just take a brief pause because in a second I'm going to hand over to Phil to go over some of our technical stuff. But I don't know, maybe Alex, did any questions jump out there that we'd want to address now, or should we save them all to the end?
I think there was just one which you've just picked up about walking rugby, really, that someone said that they were not sure it can be used for walking rugby, but I think you've just covered that. So I think that's the only thing that's come out there. But just a note, please do add any questions to the chat and we will pick that up later.
Absolutely. Okay. Phil, if you're ready, I'll jump on.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, Caroline. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name's Phil Kearns. I'm the National Coaching Manager at England Rugby, working in the Game Development Department. I'm just going to take you through a little bit around the sort of the activity itself. So one of the things we would say, for those of you who've been on any sort of coaching courses that we do or any qualifications, you might be familiar with the phrase of what we call APES, which is active, purposeful, enjoyable, and safe. That's what we want every session to be for every participant that takes part. So active, the players are active, they're enjoying, they're involved in the session. It's purposeful, so they've got some sort of striving for some purpose to what they're doing, some sense of achievement. We know that's really important to people. It's enjoyable, so they're having some fun, they're enjoying the opportunity to either work hard or play with friends or whatever that may be, and then it's safe, so we try and make it as safe as possible to reduce the risk of injury for everyone taking part. Yeah, Caroline. What we also look to do is we have, as Carolyn alluded to, we have different adaptations that are available. This is a framework we use with all of our sessions, really, whether that be contact format of the game or non-contact format of the game, to look at how we can sort of support players. So you'll find this, especially in the stage 2 resources that Carolyn mentioned earlier. There'll be some little arrows that will signify a develop and stretch. So what we try and do is pitch the sessions or develop the sessions with an introduced phase. So this is how we would see the sessions being sort of introduced to players, and then based on the sort of age and stage of the players, the skill set of the players, the output the players want to do, going back to that purposeful and enjoyable piece. We may then want to develop the practice, so we might put some little added pressure or added constraints into the practice to enable them to sort of develop their skills. And then we might even stretch them to look to challenge them. So how do they want to stretch? We know a big part of people taking part in sports and activity is that sort of, playing with friends, that social side of it, but also a sense of achievement. So being able to achieve as well. So the resources will have an introduce, develop and stretch element to them, which will allow you, if you're using those sessions, to build towards playing Team 1 rugby. There's probably, as we talked about earlier, there's scrums, lineouts, and kicking are big parts of the game. So that have been introduced in terms of the non-contact format of the game. Scrums are 3-person v 3-person. There's no binding required. It could literally be 3 people stood to the side of each other. Lineouts are again 3 people v 3 people. But the biggest area is around the breakdown. So when we're producing this with World Rugby, what we looked at was how do we create this a format of the game, a non-contact format of the game that allows a breakdown as well, which allows teams to either play fast or play slow. So one of those things is what we call the tackle triangle. So when a touch tackle is made, The defender will stand in front of the ball carrier. Then two additional defenders must join from the side and place their outside arm on the original defender who made the touch tackle. So they don't touch the ball carrier. They place their outside arm on the defender who made the original touch tackle. This therefore creating a breakdown, and we'll come on to the attack side of that in a second. Let's go on. So as you said, the attack, and this does say 360, but it should say 180. In terms of otherwise they'd be just spinning into a full circle. Likewise, once the defender has made the touch tackle, the ball carrier then will turn to face their own team, and then a player must come in and take the ball off the original ball carrier. It's called the rip. However you want to do that, that's how World Rugby termed it. Whatever you want to call it, that's entirely up to you, I guess. But that's the sort of the terminology within T1 Rugby. But it's not a pass. The significant part is that it's a sort of take out of the person's hands. That's significant because one, it does create that sort of slowing the game down a little bit, so it's not quite as fast to allow the defense to get the tackle triangle in as well. But then the ball carrier must play the ball. The person who rips the ball must play the ball within 3 steps. They must pass the ball within 3 steps. So they can't just rip it and then go off and run away with it. So what we've tried to do there is allow for the breakdown area to take place. And when we talk about being able to play the game fast or slow, the attack do not have to wait for the tackle triangle to form before they rip the ball and play away as part of the general rules. What feedback we have had is that sometimes, we've got to try and ensure that the tackle triangle is being formed, so defenders are coming in to form that tackle triangle. A little bit from experience of having a go at this, so we're again having another session yesterday on this with some players who'd never played rugby before. It was around being able to just allow the tackle triangle to form first, and then look to play the ball away, just to get people used to the tackle triangle and seeing the opportunities there is to attack space when the tackle triangle is formed. And then being able to say, okay, now you've got a decision whether you play the game fast and try and attack a disrupted defence, or you play the game a little bit slower, allow the defence to set their tackle triangle and look to see where the space may be, either out wide or behind, as Carolyn alluded to earlier, where you can either kick or roll the ball forward using some of those adaptations. I'm happy to take any question on that, Alex, as well, because that's usually where we get most of the questions around that breakdown area. But hopefully we've tried to head off some of those as well, and you've seen the video.
Yep, nothing yet.
Fantastic. So, yeah, I think I'll head back to you, Carolyn?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do right now is I'll stop sharing my screen, which will always take me. We always have to remind everyone where you can, please ensure your age grade players are registered. Got to have that one in there, but it is very important. So please make sure you do that. So I'll just stop sharing. And again, what we'd really like to do is, obviously, this is a club focused webinar. So we are conscious that there might be questions about whether it's implementation or, as Phil has just alluded to, some of the more technical aspects of the game. So we'd like to take the opportunity to answer any questions that people may have. If there is something where you'd like some more specific detail, perhaps your club has a very specific outcome they're looking for, I'm more than happy to speak to people offline. That's not a problem either. We have looked to implement non-contact for pretty much anything you can think of. So if there is something specific you're thinking of, just let us know. So just ask Alex, excuse me, if there's any questions in the chat.
Here we go. We've got the first one coming in, and hopefully some other ones will follow. So are there any resources or networks we can use to find other clubs playing this format?
Yeah, absolutely. So I should always remind myself to mention that we have our T1 Rugby social media channels. So we have at T1 Rugby England for both Instagram and X. And what we find is a lot of clubs who are doing sessions, as with any of our previous non-contact deliverers, will always often put up their social media stuff, so you can see it on there. We also have a Facebook group, which I will just bring up the link to right now, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. So the Facebook group really is our place where clubs will come together and they can ask questions or just sometimes just post pictures of stuff they're doing or let people know if they're holding festivals or anything else like that. We've got over 1,000 members in it. So yeah, and that goes for, anything you're looking to do, whether it's questions about walking rugby or any pace or just anything you're looking to do with non-contact in general. It's a great place to reach out to people. So I'll drop that into the chat right now.
Yeah, that would be good because that was the next question. Can clubs play T1 against other clubs? I think you've answered that, including festivals as well, is what you mentioned there, which is key. Another question for a develop/stroke stretch group: is there a consequence for the defensive team if they don't get into the tackle triangle?
So yeah, on that, it's encouraging them that they've got to make an effort to get towards the tackle triangle. So that's part of the part of the rule. So what we've said is that people can have these it's 7 phases that each team will get in attack before the ball is turned over. You could reset those tackle phases if teams are not getting their tackle triangle formed. So if they're not making an attempt to get the tackle triangle formed, would be one element of that. The other way, in some of the other adaptations that are in place, is we can actually bring in as part of the variations and adaptations on the World Rugby page. We can actually bring in a contest for possession at the breakdown. So if you imagine in a contact format of the game, you would have a breakdown which will be contested via a contact element over the ball, a ruck or a maul. In this, you could bring in a sort of an adaptation where if the tackle triangle is formed before the ball is passed away, the ball is turned over, and that's part of the adaptations that's there. So you can incentivize the defending team to really work hard to get the tackle triangle in and contest the breakdown if needed. So hopefully that answers that question.
We've got a call. Thank you there, Bill. Thanks very much. Any other questions, please put them in. Right. Okay, another one. Who do we contact at the RFU to offer training sessions on T1 delivery for school teachers? They're keen to host stroke facilitate, but are finding that our school teachers are wanting an RFU accredited course. I'd like to pick that up.
Yeah, this is so ideally what we've looked to do is as part of these sessions is look at it's quite off the shelf, so anyone can sort of come and pick up T1 Rugby with all the resources that are available and use it themselves. That's what we've aimed to do, to make it as easy and accessible as possible. So we're not reliant on getting someone to a certain place at a certain time for a delivery to take place. So making the resources as readily available and then that support. Again, we are offering some schools sessions that have been out through our school rugby managers. They'll be taking place. I'm sure if you put a ticket into the club, I forgot the actual new terminology.
Community Rugby Help.
Community Rugby Help. That's it. That's it.
Community Rugby Help.
They may be able to direct you into who exactly will be able to tell you where those school managers are located. But ultimately, this is out there for people to just take up and run with themselves, so we can get as many people using and playing T1 Rugby as we possibly can.
Thanks very much. Next one comes from, I think, a constituent body point of view from Jackie. What would you suggest is the best way for clubs currently disengaged with T1 to find out about it and take it forward?
I'll take that one if that's all right, Phil. No, I think personally the first and best way for clubs to engage. So the two parts to this, because how do you get them to engage when they're disengaged, and then where do we, how do they find out about it? So the first one is to engage them, and we've got loads of stuff going on this summer. Everything we're doing with our impact work for the Rugby World Cup, our Strive 25 is T1 Rugby based as well. So everything going on in the host cities, if you can find an activation that's actively using T1 Rugby so you can see it, or if you know of a local club that's putting it on, being able to see T1 Rugby really does not re-engage, but engage those who may be disengaged or who may not be quite perhaps as enthusiastic as we would all hope them to be. Otherwise, if it's something that they cannot attend, then I would suggest that we get as much of the resource in terms of videos out to them so they can physically see what it looks like. Sometimes it's tricky to visualize it until you've seen it. So ideally in person, if they can attend a festival or one of our activation sessions. We had one at the York Six Nations event. We've got one coming up for Scouts and Girl Guides and the Curtain Raiser at the Red Roses. And again, our impact host cities with our Strive 25. So if you can get them in person, ideal. If not, I would recommend that we get them some kind of video where they can see it. And then once they've seen it, where they find out more about it is always going to be the website. We are trying to host everything in one spot in terms of the website. So the moment they're, looking for more information, it's always check out the website, check out the resources, watch the videos, and get as much information as you can there. And if worse comes to worse, they can always reach out to me and I will hopefully engage them because I love engaging people on T1 Rugby.
Thank you, Carolyn. And of course, this webinar is being recorded. So if you want to share this webinar afterwards, please do as well, Next question coming in. Do the RFU expect clubs to use T1 rules going forwards? Or for walking rugby, can we just continue as we are and use our existing arrangement for festivals, then agree rules before the event? Some of these rules could include some T1 aspects. Okay, so they're currently doing walking rugby, obviously, with different rules. Are we expecting them to change?
So obviously, we'd love to encourage all of our clubs to use T1 Rugby rules where possible. And even if it is those minor amendments that you suggested in the chat, that would be great as well. However, if you have, ultimately, as England Rugby, our outcome is more people playing rugby for longer and at all times. So if you have something that's working within walking rugby, then that's absolutely fine to continue with your rule. But we would encourage everyone to look to incorporate T1 Rugby. If you attend anything that is kind of run by us as the RFU, what you would find is T1 Rugby rules. So if you can start incorporating those rules and see what lands well with you, that would be fantastic. If you are not interested in T1 Rugby, then, again, we'd like to encourage you to try, but we're not going to be coming around and asking you to stop.
Okay, brilliant. So moving on, what can stop players running through the defence at force for the first touch? I think, this could be the classic feel of if you've played Union and you're on a hard line, how does that work in touch?
Yeah, so I think one of the things we have seen with T1 Rugby compared to previous versions of non-contact touch games is because of the requirement to rip the ball in terms of you have to turn around and reface your defense. The feedback we're getting is players are running less aggressively at the defensive line because there's no benefit. They've got to try and stop and turn quicker to be able to keep the ball moving. So we're actually seeing this format being a little bit less of those hard lines being ran due to from our experiences of what we've been seeing because the ball carrier is looking to slow down quicker to be able to turn and face their own team, where previously they're just running really hard and throwing the ball between their legs, or in other versions of the game. So it's actually helping aid that. Secondly, what we would always encourage is that we, depending on the sort of the age and stage of the players, it's making sure that it goes back to that active, purposeful, enjoyable, and safe part. Really, if people are running really hard within that, we know it can happen. It's just potentially just having a word around this has got to be enjoyable and safe for everyone involved. What we don't want is people having accidental collisions because someone's running really, really hard. That might happen, but not from force of running hard. If you run past the ball, if you run past through the defence as well, so you're not stopping in time, you will have to go back. So you're allowed 3 steps to slow down, but you will have to go back and then reform, which will again slow the attack down. So there's not as much benefit to running really hard lines in this game in terms of sort of getting behind the defensive line to create some goal forward, because ultimately the goal forward can be created, 1 with a kick, 2 with passing the ball into space or allowing the tackle triangle to be formed, or 3 turning really quickly and moving the ball effectively into either space or attacking those broken defenses, as we highlighted earlier.
Thanks, Phil. And being a back, obviously, the big thing is they want to do it because we want quick ball, don't we, as a back, to get the ball out and things. So definitely they want that stuff there. Is this T1 information going out to coaching, club coaching coordinators? Has it gone out? Is it going out?
I think it's going to go out to everyone in clubs, and Carl, I'll let you put that one up because you've probably
No, I mean, I was just going to say that we are putting out the information as far and as wide as we possibly can. So everyone internally at the RFU, everyone in terms of our delivery partners, everything else. So yes, the information is getting out as fast as we can. But there's been a lot of uptake for it, so we're trying to do it as best we can. But yes, club coaching coordinators have been getting the information. Yes.
Good. I'll just put in because there has been some nice comments in there about actual people using T1 rugby. So we've got Simon here, that he says just give it a try. We threw it out under 16, under 18 girls into training last week, and they really embraced it and enjoyed it. And we had some comments earlier on that they're really using it and responding to the walking rugby one, that it can be adapted. So people are using this and finding it really good. So that's nice to share.
Just to echo that, Alex, before we move on, and one thing that we haven't really touched on is just how much this version does support the community game, and we've seen that now. The moment it landed, clubs and deliverers were recognizing, as you say, like at first people like a little bit, what is this? And then once they're playing it, they see it, they see how creating that space mimics rugby union and looks like what people you would see people playing on TV, and that connection is really there. So I guess back as well to that. Do we have to use it? Question is, we do think that we see this supporting the community game as a format better than any format we've had in the past. And that is the response we're getting as well from the community game. So just as was it Simon? Thank you, Simon. Said, give it a try. I do think you'll enjoy it. I know that loads of people on this call will think you'll enjoy it. But again, just back to the idea of the reason it's built the way it is, and the reason, I mean, Phil was, heavily involved in its development. And so I don't want to speak out of turn here, but it was developed to support rugby union in a way that other formats we've used before haven't supported rugby union in the way this one does. And sorry, I just wanted to sing its praises for a second there. And
yeah, no,
Phil,
brilliant.
again, if you want to speak more to that, I didn't want to speak for you.
So there's one here around the summer activity. So can T1 rugby be used in the off season as part of summer activity of rugby?
So not technically, but traditionally in the non-contact kind of realm of delivery, summer is when we play non-contact. So absolutely, this is when you'll find the most activity happens, and lots of clubs pick it up as their kind of summer out of contact season sport. So that's my future dream is to change the term season into which season, but out of the contact season, absolutely give T1 Rugby a go, use it for festivals, use it for whatever you might need to do. But yes, absolutely use it in the summer season. You'll find that generally we've just had our season launch in the non-contact world. So April, it'll build up to July. And then August, everyone needs a bit of a break. So you'll find it a bit less busy during that time. And then we have clubs that use it all year round as well. But your largest participation points for non-contact and T1 Rugby will build up to July, where you'll find like June, July being really, really like lots of participants coming through. And then August, everyone gets a little bit of a break. But yes, please do look to incorporate it in the summer.
Just on that as well, I think it's super important, especially this year, as Carol alluded to it as well, with the World Cup in England in the summer. We've got also the back end of the summer as we go into sort of August and September. It's going to be really, really important to ensure that we've got some activity that's running, because this will be a really good way of introducing new players who might be inspired by attending a game, watching a game on TV, or just the sort of foray of just having a World Cup in this country. We see that over numerous other sports as well. So T1 Rugby is a really great way to be able to introduce that to those new participants as well.
And we've just got a comment in. I think you'll like this one, Phil, because it's really around being safe, to be fair. So they played T1 rugby a few times when the really hard ground makes playing contact rugby too unsafe. And I think that's the adaptation, isn't it, really, that it can be used for training sessions and things just with rugby rugby union, because it links in so well.
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely seeing some contact teams using it instead of the sort of the traditional start with 10 minutes of touch rugby at the start of a session, using this to sort of create more tactical awareness around and decision making within the players, even at the start of sessions, to get them sort of more mentally and switched on within the sessions.
Thank you. So we're drying up now. Any final questions people want to put in, please do put them into the chat now. We'll give it a bit of time. Caroline, I think if I hand over to you, if we sort of wrap up there, if we get any extra ones in, we will stay on for a bit. But Caroline, if you want to finalise the webinar, and then if there's any other questions, just put them in. We'll stay on for a bit longer.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, first of all, just once again, thank you so much for attending the webinar this evening. And hopefully you found it very useful in terms of some of the knowledge around T1 Rugby and being able to ask the questions that might be a bit more specific to what you're looking for. Again, it's great to see that, 70% of people on this call are looking to use it for both growth and retention. And again, if there are specific questions that might be, as you say, not something you want to put in the chat or you want to email about later, I'm more than open to helping people through anything that might be implementation based. Again, please, if you are looking for as much information or kind of where we're landing information, it's on the website, which is Delivering T1 Rugby. And then also, again, if you're not delivering it yet, or you're not yet delivering it, but you'd like some kind of tips on how to get that up and running, either join the Facebook group and ask, or again, feel free to email me. But apart from that, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Phil, and thank you, Alex, for your help on this call. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing everyone hopefully shortly playing some T1 Rugby. And don't forget, if you are, please tag us on your social media posts at T1 Rugby England for both Instagram and X, and then we'll promote and share your sessions and just show everyone all the great work you're doing.